for the City of Hudson to order on Thursday, May 9th. Roll call, please.
Alderperson Alms is excused. Alderperson Hall.
Here.
Alderperson Morset.
Here, minutes of the regular meeting.
Move to approve.
Second. Any other discussion on that? No corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. We will move item 8 and 9 up to the top of the agenda. So number 8 is discussion and possible action to conduct the Willow Walk on June 12th, 2019, beginning and ending at Willow River Elementary School. Chiefs first.
I'll just defer. Are you Sandra?
State your name and address for the record.
Chris Cameron, 922 4th Street. I'm a teacher at Willow River, and we would like permission to do our Willow Walks event. It's on June 12th. We leave from the school. We walk down St. Croix. We have a police officer scheduled to cross us on 2nd. We walk down to the band shell and return on the same route.
Okay. And this is the 5th year?
This is a 5th year.
Fifth year?
Yeah.
Any issues with it?
We have had zero issues. Generally, our SRO officers help out, but if they're not able to help out because it's the last day of school, we have someone that can help out.
Okay.
I'll move to approve.
Second, any further discussion, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So we will recommend it to full council on our next meeting, which is May 20th.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
You're welcome.
Number 9, discussion possible action on traffic speed concern on East Canyon Drive. Chief, I know this came in from Bill.
Yeah, that's fine. We got a request from a citizen about speed concerns in that
He
area.
is here too.
He is, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I talked to Bill. Bill forwarded me the email with the concerns. I talked to Bill at the council meeting on the 13th. We haven't even had the 13th yet.
Yeah, no.
On the 6th. I don't know whether I'm coming. I talked to Bill on the 6th at the council meeting, and we decided, why don't we put the traffic counter up in that neighborhood? Just so happens to be that there was a pretty good spot up there, pretty close to this gentleman's address. So we put that up there to monitor. We'll see what the problem is, how big the problem is, and then
Okay.
we can go from there.
If you want to state your name and address and just kind of tell us briefly why, or your feelings and what, et cetera.
Sure, no. Yeah, Joe Bremer, 35 East Canyon Drive in Hudson. So last Sunday, my son's 5-year-old friend was playing, and it was bad timing, but he got hit by a car on his bike. He's fine. There's nothing permanent as of now, but I guess what brought it to attention was the lady that hit him was doing everything right. She wasn't speeding, she wasn't texting, it was just a freak accident by all means. The only problem I'm afraid of now is there's many people that aren't driving correctly on our street, and a little over 30, you can't tell, but there's some that are well over 30 by just looking. They just come right by my house, and it happens a lot. And the problem I have is what happens when somebody's doing that and somebody gets hit by a car. And there's more and more kids. My kid's 5, he's learning to ride his bike now too, and Jake just learned how to ride his bike, that's why he's all excited. And like I said, it was just bad timing. I'm not blaming that accident. I'm not trying to put him on a pedestal and say we need to do something because of this. Sure. But I'm just worried about now, the cul-de-sac Lofty Bay next to me has 22 kids in it, and they're all starting to generally come out on their bikes. They predominantly stay in the cul-de-sac, but they're starting to make their way out. And I just worry about texting, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know what ideas you guys have. Bill Alms, I think, did I say that right?
Yep.
Speed bumps are out of the question because of the snow plows. I get that. That makes sense now. I think I put that in the email maybe.
Yeah.
And then I believe I was thinking stop signs, but then there was word that sometimes stop signs don't control traffic. They become counterintuitive.
Correct.
I spoke to a civil engineering company today. I think they're the ones that you guys use. And they said that in some cases, yes, in some cases, no. So it wasn't a for sure, that they're not going to work. The person I talked to did pull up our address, the topo map, because I don't know if you guys are familiar where we live, but East Canyon comes up 200 feet in less than about 1/8 of a mile. And then when you come over the hill, I live on the downside of that peak, and that's where everybody comes over, and they're moving.
Sure.
Same thing going down the hill too. Problem is I don't live on that side. But there's a nice four-way stop right there, and I figured if even an idea of a four-way stop at that intersection will at least bring cars to a halt. You know, I could, aim high and say every intersection gets a stop sign and then start talking down from there, but, I just didn't know.
Well, this committee historically has been very proactive instead of reactive, and we don't like to stick signs up everywhere. So what we're going to do is there is a sign order or policy for what criteria a stop sign meets for the city of Hudson.
Sure.
So what Bill had suggested and the chief just stated said that we're going to monitor it. You got the trailer up there?
No, it's the low-profile box.
Okay. So we'll start that
Try to
way.
keep that a secret, by the way. That's quite a buzz. Everybody saw the box. Everybody, what's that box?
I'm sure they saw the creepy guy out there putting something on there, too.
I'm trying to, the ones
Was
that do
that
know,
you?
I just don't tell anybody.
So ideally, so now we're aware of that,
Sure.
and now we're going to monitor it, and if it needs warrants anything else, then it will come back here. God forbid it starts with an accident again,
Sure.
and somebody gets hurt, God forbid. But that is kind of the steps we like to take. I don't know if you have any thoughts of it, but we'll start with this, and we'll move progressively up. And
Is it a monthly thing? Like, is this
This is a
revisited
monthly
next
meeting.
month?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I just don't know how, I think we talked on the phone about, getting the data when the time comes or whatever about sharing it. And I'm just curious if the count seems high, do we wait till next month? Or do you guys do anything outside of, between and then and now?
Well, once we get the data back and we analyze it, it'll give us some idea of problem times of the day, problem days of the week, and then we can go up there and physically monitor that with marked squads
Sure.
during those problem times and try to take enforcement action or at least be more visible up there during those times. And we start small, and then if that's not curbing the problem, then we'll go back to the drawing board.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you guys opposed to stop signs? It sounds like that was, you kind of.
We're not opposed to it, but once you start putting stop signs up for everything that happens, then we're just gonna have to start putting them up it's just, it sets a precedence, and that's not what they're used for.
Okay.
Stop signs are used for what?
Right of way.
But like compared to like Target, County Market, where they have a stop sign to stop cars from pedestrians and crosswalks, like there's a crosswalk on that intersection.
Yeah, but from walking in the entrance of County Market?
No. Well, County Market has a stop sign, but it's not necessarily the stop the right of way of what cars, so people can cross, right?
Right, yeah.
So
Are you
there's
talking
actually,
about the one in front of the front doors?
yes,
Yeah, that's just to alert people, hey, this is a crosswalk.
we have a crosswalk right there at that four-way intersection with no signs.
And that's on private property too, so.
Public street though.
The county market?
No. I'm sorry. My four-way intersection right next to my house.
Yeah, the county market one that you're talking about is on
Yeah.
private property.
Right, but I mean that works. People do stop.
Something else, there's a way of doing a speed bump. They have them in Minneapolis, and I've talked about this at other public safety meetings, but.
Big ones.
They're longer, so that if you are going fast, you'll feel it, but if you're going slow enough, it really isn't much of a jar. And it's designed so that the snowplows can go over them more smoothly too. So I think that is something that we should be considering for these kinds of areas where we don't want to put up a stop sign, but we,
You'd have to give
need
some
to-
research into that and present it back.
okay.
Can we do that? Because I got plenty of
Yes.
friends in the Minneapolis
Sure,
too that we
sure.
can ask about it.
Yes, if you'd like to get some information on them and present it, that would be great.
Sure.
So at this point, we are not going to be reactive, we're going to be proactive and start with monitoring and move forward.
And that's perfectly fine, yeah, because that's cool that we have that device, because that'd be interesting to know, like, when I'm not in my front yard yelling at people, how many people actually speed without me out there.
Yeah, sorry I scared your entire neighborhood, but
No, it was actually pretty funny, because I didn't know what it was, and then I was getting texts like, because that just happened, and the immediate people know what happened, and then everybody kept asking, like, what'd you do? And I was like, no, it's not mine. It's pretty funny. They're observant. I give them that.
that's good.
Yeah.
So keep in communication with Bill Alms, and we'll move forward from there, and Jeff as well can.
Sure.
Once that data comes available and they put the presents out there.
Yeah, no, that's great. I didn't know. I've never done this, so I have no idea what the steps are. So.
No, we appreciate you telling us. It's the only way we can know.
And I've got your phone number here, so I'll be in contact with you about the information about the speed bumps so that
Perfect.
we can coordinate that.
Awesome.
So thank you.
And
for
then
taking-
just a speed bump consideration, sorry, I'll make it quick. I know a lot of our neighbors are kind of concerned about this whole thing in our neighborhood. So even, let's say the speed bumps become a issue for this plows, I'm sure we can get everybody on board to mark them come wintertime. So if the snowplow drivers don't know when they're coming, let's say 12 inches coming, you can't see it, I'm sure we can get everybody on board that if you get one by your yard, stake it so they at least know what's coming.
The ones in Minneapolis do have a sign that say speed bump ahead so
Perfect.
that they are marked.
Okay, I was just trying to.
I don't want to get too far
Yeah,
down that road
no.
until we know.
But
There's a lot of things
Yeah.
that have to be done before that would have
but
to
it's
happen.
it's worth looking at.
Absolutely. So thank you
All right.
for taking the time. Okay, back up to our regular agenda. Parking, discussion possible action on parking citation fines for fire hydrants, yellow zone, and handicap spaces. And this was a product of undercovering and updating our ordinances for parking. So Jeff?
Yeah, I think this was brought to the council's attention by Alderperson Paul DeZiel.
Yeah.
So, I mean, from our perspective, well, we don't really have a perspective on it. So it's whatever you guys want to do with respect to the code and the fine amounts for these various violations. The municipal court judge has been open to whatever you guys feel. So,
How long ago have these been revised?
way before my time.
Okay, so it's been a long time.
Way before my time.
Do we have, that goes way back. So, do we have a lot of these violations? Would increasing the fines be a deterrent to anything, or is it?
A few of these are
I think we
Quite a
have
bit.
a fair amount of yellow zone for sure and fire
blocking
hydrant.
driveways.
Blocking driveways is a
downtown.
big one.
Okay.
Yeah, yellow zone probably the most predominant.
What are the fines in other communities nearby? Do you know? Are they comparable?
Well, we'd have to know what communities you want to,
Well-
we could find that information out very easily, but
River
I've
Falls?
learned through the parking committee talks that we want to be careful of who we're comparing ourselves to, so. But we don't generally want to compare ourselves to a Minneapolis and St. Paul.
No, no, but River
So-
Falls, New Richmond, even Woodbury, just taking a look at Woodbury might be a good idea, or Stillwater.
Well, you could do two approaches. You could certainly do comparables and go from there, or you just put out a flat-out percentage rate increase on all of them.
Well, I think, I think the other question that I've got is, how often are these citations written, and if,
Well, there's a few of them, like we were saying,
Yeah.
the boat parking, trailer parking, the blocking of driveways, especially downtown, 24-hour parking somewhat gets abused. You don't, it's probably random all over.
It's pretty random.
and would larger fines deter the behavior?
That's the general idea.
Yeah.
Right?
But,
The general idea is, the deterrent is the fine, right? And that's one of the things we talked about in the parking committee meetings is the fines aren't really a deterrent for people to not pay for parking anymore. So it's the same argument for whatever parking citation you're talking about. But you don't want to be so heavy-handed where it's
Right.
unreasonable.
yeah.
I mean, just from my perspective, I think the parking in front of fire hydrant and stuff is more of a life safety issue than maybe
Yes.
some of the other ones. And I would like to see that maybe raised a little bit more for
Okay.
deterrent, but I think that's my perspective is that's a little bit different, but obviously I'm a little bit on the side of that, but it is, if it's blocked and we can't get to the fire hydrant, it's a life safety, so.
Well, I think we should have a recommendation for our next meeting and do comparables, and then, maybe a second suggestion, but 3 to 5% increase.
I will find the comparables and,
I wouldn't go too far out.
Yep.
Well, if you, well, I suppose getting numbers for each of these, just so we.
Frequency
Frequency for
of
the-
citation, you mean?
Yeah, from the last year or so. I mean, I don't know how long you'd want to go back, or what would be appropriate, a year?
We could go back.
Is that
there,
easy to
I
get?
think. I have no idea. I don't think so. I don't know how to use Clancy very well. We have people down there that have used Clancy for a long time, so.
Okay, so somebody can probably pull those up pretty
Maybe.
quickly. If it's not too difficult, it doesn't take away from other
Should be all
responsibilities.
right. Should be pretty easy to do.
Just to give us a mark and see baseline where we're at.
See if there's anything that's really outrageous as far as the number of citations for something.
Good. So we'll hold that over for our next meeting. Number 4, discussion possible action on sex offender ordinance. I know Bill wanted to talk this over. I think it was just to update the map. Is that correct, Jeff?
Well, it was to update the map, and he wanted to start the discussion on, is our buffer zone where it needs to be?
Right.
I can tell you that the planning department is in the process. They've got the new software installed. They've got my maps. They've got the ordinance, so they're working on it. But it's, it takes time, even that way. So,
Well, as I had said before to us, I was one of the co-authors, creator of this ordinance when we put it in place, and it got watered down very much so from the original that was represented. That being said, the way the feeling is down in Madison, and if we start putting ourselves in a spotlight with this ordinance, it could very well get thrown out.
Yeah.
from what I understand from talking to the folks in Madison and the DOC is that if you become too restrictive, you set yourself up for liability to get sued because there's not enough places in your city for someone to live. And you don't want to, that's kind of a slippery slope that you don't really want to start down.
We will lose because they have rights as well, and
Yeah.
that's a whole different argument. We could sit here all night. Jeff just got a notification and placed one within my district, I believe, and I got some emails that there's nothing I can do. Even being the author or the originator of the ordinance, it's very frustrating, and it's scary as somebody who has kids.
Yes.
I mean, you have to wear two different caps and be careful because they have rights as well. And like I said, that's a whole different argument. And then we have our safety protection, which we're charged to do.
Yeah.
So it's touchy. Darla, did you have any comments that you wanted to briefly add to the conversation? I know you're here for this item.
Yeah, it's personal that I have a family member who was a victim, so that's why I'm here.
Okay.
What would be the maximum that we'd be able to have for the distance?
Well, the max, I think, when I first presented was 1,500 from any place children congregated,
Okay,
which basically excluded the whole city.
okay. But now we've got 200.
Correct.
What are other cities doing? Is there another number that is pretty common?
From what I've been told, in the state of Wisconsin, most cities are removing the restriction entirely. Because what they've found is that people are less likely to register appropriately if there's restricted areas,
Okay,
because it's too difficult to find an adequate place to live. So if you remove the restrictions, their thought process is at least these people are
Have
going to
compliance.
register and we know where they are.
okay. And that's important.
Yeah, it's our job to notify the general public or the neighborhood in which they're being placed. And that's one thing we have to be cognizant of and do religiously. And I know it's a time-consuming thing, but it's the most important thing. Because the more we make everybody aware, there's self-policing going on, people are more neighborhood watching. And we had some incidents around the high school, EP Rock this week.
Yeah.
Of a odd van or truck, green SUV floating around there. The stuff is not going away, and we have
No.
to be very proactive on how we do it, but I don't want us to lose the ordinance. At least we've got some buffer. germane to what he just said. We open this up, I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, and to touch on your notification thing, you have to be careful with that too, because now are we setting these offenders that are now been released back into the community, are we setting them up to become victims
Yeah, to be harassed
of
or.
harassment and possible assault? Or property damage, you know, if we're, so there's a guideline in place for notifications too, and generally we withhold for violent offenders that have a high propensity to reoffend, we are going to be notifying. But people that have followed the rules and have somewhat rehabilitated, right, or at least at face value been rehabilitated and come back out into the community and are projected as safe, you know, we have to weigh the notifications as well.
Boy, that's a tough
It's tough.
line to.
Again, it's another slippery slope.
Tightrope. Yep. Okay.
It doesn't hurt to keep talking about it, so it's in the forefront. And,
Yeah.
But I'm really cautious about touching it, because I don't want to open it up.
Well, and I know one of Alderperson Alms, not to speak for him, but I know that through my conversations, one of the concerns he's got is the daycares that are not necessarily licensed. So the private daycares that aren't licensed, that watch a couple of neighbors' kids or a couple of friends' kids, aren't reflected on the map. Well, they're not going to be, because they're not tracked, they're not regulated, they're not licensed, there's no way for us to know about them.
Yeah.
So that's another tricky part
Okay.
of the ordinance to deal with.
So I think, and when Bill gets back and he can talk to us all about what he's thinking, we certainly can have more conversations about it.
Okay.
We keep it out in the spotlight, that will help.
What about requiring those kinds of daycares to register with the city so that the city is aware of them and can send them letters when there's
That's
somebody
up to-
released?
That's up to the council. If they want
Would
it.
would that be feasible?
Boy, I don't know how that would, or where that would even start. I don't know if we could legally.
I mean, well, okay, or encourage them to register with the city so that we can make them aware of.
They won't even register their dogs, I mean,
Yeah, I know.
not to make light of it, but
Yes. Well, but I mean, the benefit to them of, you know, even if it's free of charge, so that we are aware of where they are and we can notify them when somebody moves into the neighborhood that could be a danger to the children. I would think that most of the daycare providers would want to know that
you would
information
think, yeah.
and would see that as an advantage of registering. And, you know, it's not so that we can inspect or anything like that, just so that we can notify them.
I don't know how that works. I don't know.
We would probably have to even check with the state to see if
Okay.
that would be something that we could include in the ordinance,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Because some of those come and go.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So just the regulation of that, and then you're putting the onus on these people that aren't really required to register. Well, even if they are required to register, if they are, you know, are we gonna get them in trouble with the state?
Yeah.
You know, we don't wanna run into that kind of an issue either.
Okay.
Yeah, because you interject, you know, it could be a neighborhood who trusts this one lady, and people can't afford daycare now.
Yes.
So this lady's doing the neighborhood a favor. We could
Yep,
we
I
could
know.
hurt some things there.
No, and I wouldn't want to upset that, because if you're somebody who's low income and you don't have any supports for your daycare, it's expensive to do that.
If you think you want to look into it, by all means, but I don't know how that
Okay.
would start or work, or the implications
Yeah.
involved.
Well, should we just put this on the next agenda so that when
Sure.
Bill is back, we can discuss it and we can get his
Okay.
input?
Good.
Okay.
Keeping track of all the things we gotta put on the next one, right?
We're just making the next agenda longer. Yeah. Number 5, discussion possible action on installation of street light on Fillmore Street between 11th Street and 12th Street. Jeff,
Yeah, well, Mike's not here, but
Saw the email.
he sent us off the email with the projected cost and the fact that they're able to do it pretty easily, from what I understand.
I think that this is really important, so I will move to approve.
Second, we'll recommend it probably to finance. because we gotta get it,
Yeah,
on the
okay.
pay, whatever. So any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Good, thank you. We have postponed number 6 on behalf of Mr. Alms and the rest of us. Number 7, discussion possible action on the Hudson Booster Day celebration, July 3rd through 7, 2019. It's an historical event. There's never any, well, I can't say there's never really any issues.
Don't say there's never any issue.
But they do a real good job for how many, geez, over 40 years it probably, or more. So I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
No, everybody saw the projected schedule
Yeah,
of events.
yeah. I
Fireworks
thought we
moving to Friday this year instead
thought
of
we were
Sunday.
expecting that it was going to be the previous weekend, is what that had been discussed somewhere. I don't remember
Well, I think
where.
the 4th is on a Thursday.
Yeah,
So they
I know.
always, if it's on the other half of the week, it'll be after, and if it's on the beginning half of the week, it's before.
Yeah, but
Wednesday, I think they punt on
and
Wednesdays.
and that's what I would have expected, was that it would be the weekend that they've chosen, but I remember hearing somewhere that they were looking at the previous weekend, and so, anyway, I hope that doesn't confuse people, that there's already been some information
I
about
think
it.
it's a bit strange that they're starting it on Wednesday this year.
Well, it's the day before the 4th, people are already on vacation, so I can see that they might want to yeah, because, I mean, it's a moneymaker, and
That,
so,
and I can tell you, as a former booster, it is a lot of work, and volunteers are getting scarce without being paid.
Yeah.
All in favor?
aye.
All opposed? Very good. Thank you. I guess we're on number 10, informational items.
Fillmore Street. I would really like to have some more discussion on that about, okay, I drive down Fillmore at about, 5 or 10 after 7 on Tuesday and Thursday mornings, and there's always students walking up that hill. It's narrow. There's no sidewalk. I think that it would be a good idea for us to discuss this and hopefully be able to reconvene the Safe Routes to School committee or something like that, and ask them to look at it or do something to
I don't
make this safer.
remember verbatim the 800-page study, but was Fillmore even included in that study?
I don't think they did anything on the high school.
I wonder if that's not something that should go to Public Works to see if they could even put sidewalks in on that road.
I gotta tell you, that's the main route of, I lived on First Street. I walked up, that's where we would walk up. We
Yeah.
had gym class, was part of, Fillmore was part of the curriculum of running up and down.
Okay.
And there's never really been the issues that you keep bringing up, besides the fact that we've grown.
Yes.
And that there's so
There's
many.
a lot more traffic.
traffic
Yes.
there. So I don't know.
Yeah, this-
I don't even know if they still do that, probably not, but for a class.
Okay.
But
I haven't
you're,
seen
you're
that.
talking about kids walking to school, right?
Yes, so, if I'm there after 7, there are students walking up the hill, and then also I take a right onto,
Ninth,
no, not 9th, it's 11th.
11th.
And there are students walking up 11th, and there aren't any sidewalks there either, so
Can we put
that's a
the-
little bit wider, I think.
The white line as a walking zone on side of, like we've done on 13th by EP Rock.
That's a possibility too, so we need to,
Probably go to Public Works.
okay, then let's send it to Public Works then.
Public Works to look for a solution, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me, after I'm done on East Canyon, to put that up there to see just even a traffic count?
Sure,
I mean,
that
'cause
would
it
be
just-
helpful.
Basically, what it does is counts the cars in each direction as well
Okay.
as gives us speeds.
And then it would tell us the morning and afternoon traffic when the kids are leaving school. So, yeah,
If we
that
put
would
a
help.
fancy light pole up there, I'll have something to attach it to.
Yeah, well, the light, the pole is already there. The pole is already
Oh,
there.
that's right, we just
Yeah,
have to have
so-
a light. I mean, I can do that.
Okay, so we're gonna have a creepy guy in our neighborhood now.
The chief creepy guy.
Yeah, that would be good. Thank you.
Well, that's informational items, so
Yeah.
there's no formal action to be
No.
taken on that, so it just needs to be sent to Public Works. Okay. Any others?
Just updates?
Well, I have an informational item for the next agenda.
Yeah, hold on, chief there, I'm not ready yet. I guess this chief wants what? Go ahead.
Well, I sent you guys the email from my conversation with Tom Goltz. So just, I want you guys to be aware that that'll be coming on the next agenda because he really wants to address this group.
I don't think that's gonna be an issue at all.
So is his goal to get us to send a resolution to the state legislature, or what?
His goal is to try and get it,
Local ordinance.
and get a
That's
state
local.
law
Get a state
passed,
law.
but he's running into a little bit of mud. Just because they're really busy doing other stuff right now with Governor Evers' first term, and there's other things that are more important to them. So he's thinking if we start at the local level, maybe the local levels, if we get it enough communities within the counties to pass ordinances similar to this,
Okay,
then the state legislatures would get pressure from the counties to pass a law.
so that is, it is something that we could pass an ordinance on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Then, all
yeah,
right,
you can,
good.
local ordinances can be more restrictive than state law, they just cannot be less restrictive than
So
state law.
that will be on our next agenda. This is
Okay,
for,
sounds
but I
good.
will say right here, right now, I strongly support it. So,
Sure.
any other informational? No? Now, Mr. Chief St. Martin.
I have nothing. No, just a quick update on the fire station. Hopefully the contract should be signed within the next week. Our attorney has it and she's reviewing it. I think she has all the appropriate documents. We're shooting for end of June groundbreaking. We'll let everybody know. There is, if you go to our website, there's a link. Right now they have a drone. They've given us drone video over the site, and then we'll have a web link for, as this starts, it'll be updated, I think every 10 minutes or something, so people will be able to watch via our link what's happening there. And then besides that, they'll update the drone once a month and do a whole aerial. So that's part of the thing they're providing for us, which is kind of nice for everyone to kind of keep an eye on what's happening there. The other thing is, we were talking a little earlier, big storm week and a half, 2 weeks ago. We had 2 fires going at once in New Richmond. We had crews there, a major gas leak, and 2 people stuck in an elevator all at the same time. And luckily the crews obviously stepped it up. We were there and able to handle everything, but it was kind of a crazy day. So it's kind of the update here.
Very nice. Jeff?
Where do I start?
Oh,
I'm just kidding. Got the parking car in.
oh,
So that is been received by us, where it's scheduled for graphics and start building that thing out. Just offered the parking coordinator position out, which was accepted.
Good.
So we're rolling on that. We'll have to talk about when we want to start doing the part-time process. Working on standardizing the uniform for the parking unit so that can be more uniform. Doing a hiring process for patrol officers. We'll be hiring 3. We're currently short 8 with 2 out on medical leave and then the shortages that we have.
wow.
So we're ramping up that issue. We've got one of them, Elias, is graduating on April 18th, so we'll be going down for that to support him, and then he'll be starting in FTO in the beginning of June.
You mean May 18th,
May 18th, what did I say?
April?
Like you said, I don't know whether I'm coming or going. We have the Law Enforcement Memorial coming up, May 15th at the Hudson High School at 6 p.m. So we're hoping we get a good attendance on that. That's always a good event.
What day was that?
50.
The 15th,
It's Wednesday.
next Wednesday at 6 p.m. The fire department is going to help us out with that, and also every agency within St. Croix County will be represented there. So that's usually a pretty good program. We had a squad car that was totaled in a pursuit about a month ago. So we're working with the insurance company right now on a settlement on that, and then we'll be looking to try and replace that car.
New one, old one?
It was a brand new one, had 4,000 miles on it.
Oh,
So
The officer's okay though, right?
he's okay. Bad guy's in jail, so that's okay. And he was unhurt too.
Wow, that's good.
But yeah, we're trying to, I just put out bids for a replacement vehicle for that. Trying to think outside the box a little bit and figure out how we're gonna do that with obviously limited budgets this time of year. So Ford has started building cars finally, so our 2020 models should be coming in probably in July. So that'll be good. Other than that, that's about all I've got.
Have the parking kiosks come in yet?
No, they were supposed to be
Delayed a week.
shipped on the 10th, and now they're delayed another week, so they'll be shipped out, projected on the 17th.
Okay, and then who will be installing those?
Public Works.
Public Works will be installing, okay. So that'll be
And I
done
think the
in-house.
plan now has morphed to install all the kiosks before anything is done with the current meters, so that we're not running into a month or two without anything and confusing people even more.
Okay,
So they'll install all the kiosks and then they'll bring them up online and then probably
Okay.
start eliminating the old meter systems.
We're fine tuning maps and public education and PR stuff. So.
It
okay,
has really helped hiring that public relations communication specialist because
Good.
it is a lot of work that they're doing and being able to provide that to the department heads that are getting the questions has been priceless.
good. I'm glad that's working out.
That it? Melanie, any updates on the real stuff that's going on down there?
Ask me no questions.
All right, other items for future agendas? We kind of talked about that
Yeah, I think
already,
we've got
so
quite a few on there.
there's seeing no other
Move
business.
to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. We are adjourned.